Today we're making homemade pasta and we're gonna turn it into one of my favorite dishes, Cacio Pepe. All right, before we jump into this recipe, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see all of our recipe videos. Now to make fresh pasta, it's easier than you may think. I'm gonna start off with 3 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And yes, I'm dumping this right on my table. So what I'm gonna add is a little bit of salt. So I just grind some sea salt right on top of my flour. Then I'm just gonna use a bench scraper. You could even use your hands and kind of just give it a little mix. Kind of get it in a nice little circle. Take a measuring spoon. You could even use your fist. Make a nice big hole in the center. Now we gotta put about 6 eggs, some olive oil and water in here, so we wanna make sure we have enough room. Now with the eggs, you don't have to pre-whisk them. I just dump them right in, and I also get my olive oil in. Now it is important to use a pretty good olive oil for this because you will get a little bit of that flavor in the pasta. And now the only other ingredient we have to add is water. Now the water is the trickiest part of making pasta dough. I always start with like a tablespoon of water. This has been like a sure win for me. I could need more, but it's a great little starting point to just also help me whip those eggs up a little bit. Then I just take a fork, I break each yolk, and I'm literally just gonna start whisking these eggs together, almost as if I'm getting ready to make an omelet. You don't wanna really incorporate any flour yet, just kind of whisk those eggs up, get all the white streaks out, because we really want this to mix into that flour pretty evenly. What I like to do at this point is start to incorporate that flour in. Very little, and you could even use your bench scraper to take some off the sides. But the last thing I wanna do right now is break my volcano. That's what I like to call this. So just slowly start to incorporate more and more flour. So now that my egg mixture is getting thick, I could start to scoop in a lot more of that flour from the outside. And what I like to use is a bench scraper. Okay, so I just start scraping from the bottom. As more and more of that flour incorporates in, it's gonna start forming more of a dough. And I could kind of tell that it feels a little dry. This kind of tells me we should probably just trickle in a little bit more water. That was like a teaspoon. You don't add a lot. Now we could start kneading. And kneading is really the process where we're gonna build a lot of gluten in this dough. And to properly knead, you're gonna fold the dough on itself and push down with your palm. And every time I do that, I rotate. So at this point, I'm working with a pretty shaggy, messy dough. I'm gonna sneak in 1 more teaspoon of water. And that's it, that should be enough. We're gonna knead this up. And I'm gonna do this for the next 5 to 10 minutes until this dough is smooth. We're gonna check for the proper gluten levels and then we'll be ready to let it rest. It's been about 8 minutes of kneading, so I'm gonna check for gluten. Now, the best way I find to do that is to kind of give the dough a little poke and watch the retraction come up. That tells me that there's enough gluten in there that it's kind of bouncing back. So if you do that and that dimple stays down and never really rises up, just knead it some more, a couple more minutes and test again. So we're gonna get this in a bowl. I'm gonna wrap it up. It's gonna rest for 30 to 40 minutes at room temperature. Very important that you don't skip this resting part. The resting really lets the flour hydrate and it also lets the gluten relax. So if we go to roll this dough now with all this gluten we just developed, it's gonna come out like Swiss cheese when we go to roll it. We're gonna let it take a nap. 40 minutes, we'll be back and we're gonna roll out some fresh pasta. So it's been 40 minutes, the dough is rested, the dough is relaxed. That means it's time to roll out some pasta sheets. Now, if you don't have a pasta roller, you could totally use a rolling pin for this. And I like to just start with cutting a little piece off with a bench scraper or a knife. It doesn't matter which one you use. Make sure in between rolling, you keep this wrapped. This is gonna wanna dry out the second it sits out. Now I always start small when I'm sheeting dough because this little piece of dough is gonna turn into a really long sheet of pasta. Just use a rolling pin to just get it a little bit flat. We don't wanna go in that pasta machine too fat. It'll just shred the dough. We want it to kind of flow through smoothly. And I'm not adding a lot of dusting flour. It'll dry the dough out. So I'm just gonna put a little bit, and I'm dusting with just some semolina flour. You can totally dust with all-purpose flour. I just think semolina flour kind of doesn't work itself in as much as it would in all-purpose. So with any pasta roller, you wanna start off with the widest setting. So I'm gonna turn my machine on, about a medium speed should be fine. And on that first roll, you just kind of feed it through. The dough comes out, it looks great. Now on that first roll, I like to laminate the dough a little bit, fold it in half, and you're gonna roll it on that same width. And I'm gonna do this one more time, a total of 3 folds. Now the dough is kind of semi-laminated. I'm gonna put a little bit more dusting, very little. Again, you don't wanna work too much flour into this dough. We're gonna go to a thinner setting. And that's gonna come out. And now we don't need to fold the dough anymore. We only really do that on the widest setting. You almost guide it out of the bottom of the machine. It's very important you don't pull. I just kind of guide it out, almost like you're holding a newborn. It's very a delicate job. Next setting, and this looks like the proper thickness for what we're looking for. We're making fettuccine. Now, the first thing I like to do when I'm making fettuccine is even off my ends. I just want a kind of a clean end. I put a little bit of my semolina in the center. As you can see, it's a very coarse flour. You know, it kind of rolls away, and that's exactly why I use it. If you're using all-purpose or anything else, try not to rub it in. Now, I make this into about 4 folds. It's gonna make it really easy to cut this way. So for fettuccine, we're really looking for like a 1/4 inch thickness. And when you're cutting these, you just really want to go fast about it. You don't want to like saw through the dough. Try your best, cut them super even, because again, even pasta cooks evenly as well. Now these look great. I throw a little flour on top. You can give them a little toss and voila, you have beautiful, beautiful fettuccine. Now, when you're making fresh pasta, you have 2 options. You can go right into the pot. You can cook this pasta right now. It's ready. You also have the option of drying it. You can let this baby kind of sit out. It'll literally dry to the point where it's like a dried box pasta. Once it's dry, you can throw it in the freezer. You can throw it in the fridge. You can use it the next day. You could use it the next week, whatever. So this Cacio Pepe recipe calls for about 1 pound of pasta. So I'm gonna keep rolling here. I'll see you in a minute. So our fettuccine are dry, we're ready to cook. Since these are dry, they're gonna take a little bit longer to cook than they would if they were fresh right off the cutting board, but it's all good. So my water's at a rolling boil, which means I'm ready to cook my pasta. Now, when working with fresh pasta, you gotta be super, super gentle. So we're gonna go right in, and the first thing you do anytime you drop any pasta into water is stir it and be pretty gentle. Now, this is not gonna take as long as you would a box pasta. So give it a nice little stir. You really wanna make sure it's not sticking. We do want this al dente because this pasta is finished in a pan. It's going to cook a little further. So we don't really want to take it fully 100% of the way cooked. The only way to know when pasta is done is to taste it. Perfect. Once it's done, shut off your water, scoop that fettuccine out, and get it into a bowl because we do not want to strain this pasta into the sink. We need this pasta water to finish the cooking of our Cacio Pepe. And you want to do that kind of fast because within a minute, this pasta can overcook. It's that delicate fresh pasta. Now, Cacio Pepe literally translates to cheese and pepper. A lot of the magic and a lot of the beauty of a Cacio Pepe comes from the pasta water. We're gonna use that pasta water to kind of emulsify the sauce. I'm just gonna grab a nonstick skillet. We're gonna get that on a medium flame. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter in there. Then while that butter is melting, it's a great time to get your black pepper in. So I think it's really important to use a freshly ground black pepper for a dish like this. But if you only have ground, it's totally fine too. So we're adding the black pepper now while the butter is melting. So we're getting a little toast on it and we're gonna get double the amount of flavor. So once that butter is melted, before it turns brown, we're gonna add about 1 cup of that pasta water. And again, a lot of the action comes from the emulsification in the starches in this water. And I'm gonna let that just kind of simmer down a little bit and do its thing. And it smells incredible. Now for the cheese, we're using a pecorino. Now it's very important that the type of cheese you use is of a good quality. Cool little trick that we do here in the test kitchen. So we add a little bit of the pasta water, enough that that cheese really starts to just kind of melt away. And this really lets that cheese incorporate in clump free and stress free. So you just kind of give that cheese paste a little mix and leave it to the side. Because right now, it looks like our pan is ready for our fettuccine. Now at this point, once it gets reduced and it's looking really nice and saucy, you're gonna toss your cooked pasta in, right back in that pan. If it gets too dry, you could always sneak a little bit more pasta water. And this is why I asked you not to strain the pasta water yet and give that a toss. And you could see that black pepper just sticking to that fettuccine. This looks incredible. Now, this is what's gonna make the Cacio Pepe complete, is we're gonna take this cheese paste now while that pasta's warm in there, and we're gonna add it right to the pasta. As you mix, it's gonna emulsify, and that little cheese paste trick really allows this to emulsify in the coolest way possible. Would you just take a look at that? So we're now gonna cook this down until all that cheese melts in and emulsifies in, and we get a really nice, smooth, beautiful pasta. And as you can see, that took less than 10 minutes to throw this together. This smells incredible. You could smell the cheese, you could smell that pepper. I cannot wait to eat this. You have to top it with a little bit more pecorino, and you have to go with some fresh cracked black pep right on top, right before you eat. And that's gonna give you that little mouth bite. I love it. Now that's a proper Cacio Pepe. I'm super excited. I'm gonna taste this. Can I eat this now? Yeah? My fettuccine is cooked perfectly. Look at that. Fantastic. You get that bite from the pepper, the cheese. That's fire, yo. Guys, I know the homemade pasta took a little bit of work and time to make, but the Cacio Pepe takes no time to whip together. Hope you guys liked hanging out with me. I hope you tried this recipe. Let us know in the comments what you think. Try out this little cheese paste trick. It's gonna change your Cacio Pepe game forever. If you enjoyed today's recipe, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to McCormick Spice on YouTube so you can see all of our delicious recipes from our test kitchen chefs. I'm taking this to go and I'll catch you guys next time.